Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go further into the restoration of the engine bay. Now we've got the engine out. I discovered on that lower footwell part on the passenger side there's a little bit more rust there than I first thought. Not a big deal, we're going to cut a patch in that, and that's what we're going to try to do today. If I get chance in this video, if I think it's running too long I won't do it, but if I get chance I'll address that upper one as well, near where the battery tray is. So let me give you a closer look of what we got going on today. I was going to jump on to removing the other exhaust manifold in the engine, but that's kind of stressful stuff, so I like to bounce around a little bit, build my energy up for that. And as I said in the last video, I don't want to get too spread out on too many projects, so I want to see some forward progress on some things, you know, namely the engine bay, the subframe and the rear axle and that good stuff. We've got plenty of time to deal with the engine later date, so let me give you a closer look and see what we got going on. As you can see, we're down on the passenger side footwell. This is where your left foot would be sitting, kind of thing, you know. So access panel for the starter, as I say. Now we've got some pitting in this area. It was lower than I thought. This is all extremely solid up here, and I've got this little pick hammer, and you can give it a whack here, and as we go down you can see right through there, right through those, see? So it's a bigger hole than I thought, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is chop out, or clean all this up with the wire wheel attachment and see what we've got going on. And I'll probably have to clean on the other side as well. You know, there's that bitumen soundproofing stuff. We've got to get rid of as much of that as possible because it'll interfere with the quality of the weld. So let me get set up and see if I can get the camera down here or off to the side here, so show you what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see that. This is the area we're going to attack. I can't come in an angle this way because you'll be in my way, but you get the idea. I'll just shoot a little video here, show you how I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to use my rotary tool here with the wire brush and an airline, so it's going to get a little noisy here, so I'll probably cue some music through this, just for a few seconds here. So, I've got our foot plate here, you know, where you'd put your heel, I guess. This is the floor here, and it intersections with another piece coming down by the looks of it. There's a little lap joint there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take all this insulation back here, under seal I should say. I moved the jack stand back to give me more access, and I built these big giant towers because I feel, you know, they're much more stable and it's not going anywhere. And they're all built with 2x4s, 11 high. So on all three corners at the moment, on the fourth corner I've got a jack stand still. But anyway, so let's clean all this up and then I'll get back to you. So I really clawed back that under seal, and I've got a light on the other side in the footwell to show you. Look at that, see? And these little holes here that started to show themselves, they're like little pinholes. This metal here is nice and solid, but as you can see, what we've got here is a dimpled piece. I'd like to keep that, and I'll check the condition of it on the other side, but I think that's in really good shape. So the rust peters out around here. So this is one piece, this is a piece, and then this is the front piece. So essentially this is three pieces that have been interrupted here. So way I'm looking at this, we've got to take this guy out. Okay, so I'm estimating, let me see if I can do it off there, can make it a cut along here. It disappears on top of this structural support here, the main frame here, and I can get to that on the inside. So cut that section out, right? This section's got to be cut out, so probably, I don't know, around here somewhere. Okay, I may go up further, maybe do something like that. This is lapped onto this piece, and then this piece is behind the two of them, and I think someone's been in here before, because that doesn't look like factory to me. But we just want to make it look neat and tidy, and certainly no smacking a big patch over the top of it. That's the last thing you want to do, even though this is a lap joint, but this is a factory lap joint, and this is, and I'll treat everything with your zinc primer, make sure we minimize the risk of rusting on the inside there, and then we'll be using seam sealers and all that good stuff. Now, this wasn't the result of moisture trapped under the underseal. This is a result of moisture getting in at the top where that battery hole is that I showed you in the other video, and wicking down and probably sitting in the carpet and no one really noticing, and then rotting from the outside inside out. So this isn't that the underseal wasn't doing its job, it was. So it didn't get ruptured or anything like that, because this is a fairly protected area in the car. So this is from the inside out rust, but we've still got to deal with it much the same way. Just cut it out and weld stuff in, as Shakespeare used to say, I've been told. Anyway, all right, let's get on with that. I'm going to start making some cuts. I don't need to pre-form these patches, because this isn't like bodywork or anything like that on the top. This is a fairly basic patch, so I'll probably just cut this section out and see what we got and make patches up, and you know, a lot of bit fit in, and you know, trial and error, that good stuff. Now what I'm going to do now is also clean on the inside of the car. I don't need to show you that. I'll show you in a bit after the cleaning, but well, actually let me go and show you what the state of inside the footwell is, and we'll go from there. So okay, this is the inside of the car. Have a look in. As you can see, the rust is concentrated in that corner, and I'm gonna you know, wire brush all this stuff back to good metal to make sure that we get a good weld. Here's that dimple detail here, and you can see where the rust has stopped there. So I'd like to keep this dimple detail if I can. If I can't, not a big deal, it's not the end of the world. And then we've got the support that is running probably around here, and we can cut back past that, weld it and all the business. So let me clean that up, and I'll get back to you. Now this makes it easier to see. If you can see, let's have a look with the camera. See the spot welds there, that's where that frame piece goes, you know. So that goes kind of like that, where it's, and obviously it kind of extends over here somewhere as well. So that's where the spot welds are, right? And then we've got a little bit of business going on here. So see, there's the lap joint to the curved piece there, right? So I would like to take, these are those little funny little holes that we found. This is good here, so I'm thinking if we took it across there just in front of that dimpled piece, right, take that bit out, and then we can drill these spot welds out, not these ones but these ones. Okay, so we'll release this piece out, and then this piece is pretty easy. We can just hack this one out, right, get that out of the way, and then the final one probably go up to somewhere like that. We'll figure that one out. I think that's the last one to go in, because that laps onto these. So let's get cutting some metal. I'm gonna probably cut from the other side, because I don't want to obviously cut into my main beam there at all, and then that will determine the line of that, and then we can carefully knock these spot welds out. As you can see, I didn't cut it all back here. I just wanted to get my line here where the substructure is, you know, the beam down the bottom. Got a little issue here on this top plate, not so much on this plate here. So this patch will go further into the car here, but let me cut that back and see what we've got, because I want to get rid of that hole there. This is good metal, so we probably only have to come to out here. I am going to use, let's think, I'm going to use my cutting wheel now and just score that and try and lift that panel out without touching the underbeam there. Okay, I finished this line with the little recip saw, this little guy, because you can really get nice accurate straight lines with that as well. So it was getting a little awkward in here, so I can peel this back, see if we can get this out. That's the pinch weld there, right there. Okay, so changed tacks a little bit as I went, so I cut past on this lower patch as well into the chamber here of the crossbeam, and there's spot welds here. Now there's a few ways I'd like to break the spot welds. You can obviously drill them out, but there's a risk you can punch through to the metal you want to keep. That, you know, what I've noticed is when you start to drill, as soon as you see a little puff of rust come out where you're drilling, just stop instantly. So this time I'm going to use a needle sander to weaken those spot welds, and then it'll just break free anyway. You can see it sands through it pretty quick, and you're a little bit more controlled, you know. So that's just gone through. I think this is what, 18 gauge steel in no time. And look, you can see the rustiness right there underneath. Let me get that. Okay, you can see that here. I'm going to use a piece of card to, obviously this is our straight edge. All we really need is this angle here, and then we'll go straight across. Not a very big patch actually. It's like that, you see. See, that's going to go in there. Like so. Okay, there's the first patch. It's not all aligned properly yet because I want to make sure it's dead level all the way round. Okay, I'm going to go underneath the cart and then mark where the beam is so we know where to put spot welds or rosette welds. Okay, I've just gone underneath, take these magnets off. So that's where the cross beam is. This is the outside, this is the inside. Okay, actually no, sorry, this is the inside, this is the outside. So obviously we've got the I can approximate the size of the beam. It's about like that, and then so we'll do probably 3 spot welds here. This is the overlap of this other piece. This will have to be bent slightly to the curvature around here, but we'll get this welded in first, tune it up, weld it in, and then we can bend it and play around with it. I will be welding both sides and tidying the welds up, not as fine as you would say bodywork, because obviously this is going to have probably some kind of bitumen or Dynamat or something like that over the top, so I'll probably leave the welds on this side completely undressed because we want as much strength as possible. On the other side I will dress them a little more because we've got only under seal hiding it, but and then probably put some seam sealer on and all that. I'm going to zinc primer it as well, and I'm half thinking well, zinc primer it, and then seeing that surface rust inside this beam, probably, you know, when during the part of the restoration, I think there's probably an access hole somewhere, drainage hole. I'm going to fill these cavities with frame coating as well while we're in there. So that's for a lot later on. So let me get this tuned up and then I'll get back to you. This little area I'm going to play with and level as I weld, because this seems to have a sort of a kind of a slight arc to the floor. Obviously this is not movable, this is a solid piece, and then, you know, the floor's tied in solid here, and then it dives a little bit here. Maybe it's dented in a bit here, but I want to make sure, get out of it, wasp. And that little lip there, I will gently tap that down by the hammer and then do a series of spots. So let's get all tidied up in here because this is a mess inside here. Get all the tools set aside and then get the welder cranking. Oh, and also zinc primer this surface and this surface. I got that couple of magnets just to hold it in position. Like I say, I'm going to play with this area here a little bit to make sure it's level. Got my holes for my spot welds. That's going to need a little clamp here. I tell you what, why don't I do that now? Get that clamped in position solid. Final fit up, 2 clamps. I'm going to be spot welding and moving the clamps, and hopefully I can get you a good shot here. I can't guarantee it because it's a little cramped here, but we'll see how we do. Well, that took a lot longer than I thought. It was just very awkward to get welding there, and also the little area, this little dimple thing that I wanted to save. It had some pitting. Rust hadn't really taken a hold, but you know that pitted metal can sometimes be a devil to work with. So basically, well, I saved it, but I was firing the gun towards the new metal and turning the power down just to build it up and kind of not put too much heat into this. And then once it was sealed off a good amount, then I went on the other side and kind of worked back and forth. There was a lot of back and forth. That's why I didn't end up filming a lot of the actual welding, because it was very awkward. Now I dressed it a little bit in here, just because obviously this is going to cover it in bitumen and all that. It's got 3 spot welds here. I didn't worry about dressing these too much. I mean, that's solidly anchored now. That patch in there. From here, let me zoom in. You can see a line now, and you can see as I move the camera up, you can see the profile is pretty close. I have to tap the metal up a little bit. I've been banging it a little with a hammer because obviously it's stuck straight out. So okay, so that dressed up pretty decent. You know, I blended it into this little dimple thing that I wanted to keep, and I bent it here, pushed it up a little bit, so the next patch will fill all this in, and there's our lap joint here that will continue on and dive into this. So that took a little longer, but that's nice and strong. And what I like to do is I put a spotlight on the other side of it, you know, a strong light, so I can pick out any slight pinholes that may be there, and vice versa. I have a light down here, this guy, that I shine from the outside up, and then I can work my way on the other side. So that's been welded both sides for extra strength. And obviously we're going to get, I'll probably put a coat of a seam sealer on that joint just to make sure that no moisture gets into that. And then obviously we get all our body coating on. Right, so this is the next patch. Took me a little while to form this up. Same way again, cardboard. Spot holes through to the frame because this is overlapping here. There was a little bit of a gap on the other side, so that's where you see all these marks. I've been kind of working it with the hammer and tapping it into shape because we've got a curve here, and then a tight join from this to this piece. I've got this clamp here, and I was able to get underneath the car. I'll get under there in a sec, I'll show you, and tap this piece up, you know, to meet with this guy. Just trying to refine it now before I commit to putting any tack welds in. So that's coming out pretty good. We'll dress it up nice. And let me show you underneath. Okay, so here you can see, needs a little refinement here. You see our corner's sticking out a bit, it needs to be bent a little bit, and also this is dented in, so I need to bring it this way. And then we've got a pretty close joint here. I've been trying to work this curve point here. And I put a screw in, a temporary screw, to pull it, cinch it down, you know, to try, because there's no way I can get a clamp on there, is there? So we put a screw in to cinch it down, and then I'll weld those holes up. So I will get this a bit more refined, and then hopefully we can get a few tacks on, remove my clamp, spot weld all these together, get all this welded in, and then we got the final third patch that might bring it up to this line here, and then that covers this join here. and then it should look factory. It should pretty much look, because we got the footwell, the floor pan, and a transmission tunnel all intersecting in this corner. So now I welded that plate in. I've tidied it up. I didn't take it all the way down too far because I want to leave as much strength as possible. Plus, I say we're going to get a lot of bitumen sealer. I'll probably rust encapsulate there, seam seal it both sides anyway. So it's coming out nice and solid. Just got this small patch here to do. I'll show you how I'm working that in the. There we go, in the corner there from the other side. So we've got to, lap it all and butt join it here and lap it under here. Let me show you what I've done underside here. I did tidy it up a little, I get into it, and tied it up nicely on this side, because, I don't know, that's just me, I guess. But we've got plenty of strength there because we've welded both sides. So that's blending in nice with the nice factory overlap here. And we've got this little corner to fill in where the transmission tunnel wraps over and follows this line, so it makes this kind of corner here, just like this one. So let me show you what I come up with. There was a little bit of a pain in the butt. Change camera angles here. So I wanted to cut out as minimum as possible because all this is good metal on the trans tunnel. So I come out with this little patch here. Those are for the spot welds to lam against that. Now it doesn't fit perfectly there, as you can see, but it's pretty close. So what I'm going to do, run a couple of tacks to hold it in position, and then I'm going to just gently tap this curve flat, because it's very difficult to make this shape while it's free and clear like this. So what I'm thinking, I'll weld this on this side, get that firmed up, and then just gently work it and tap it and use the recip saw to cut in our extra joints, because some of them are a little close and I want to get good penetration. And as I say, I'm doing it both sides, but as you can see, that's coming out quite nice actually. Quite happy with that. No fiberglass anywhere, that's what we want. So okay, let me get that tacked in and I'll get back to you. Thought I'd just stop halfway. What I'm doing, I put a spot weld here, spot weld here. I haven't done these yet because this needs pulling in further. I'll probably use some sheet metal screws or something. I've kind of run out of those. So what I'm doing, I'm working along this seam here, and what I did, I'm kind of checking my level as I go, tapping together, making sure, and then I inserted the recip saw in here and cut, not a straight on, but a kind of a chamfer angle here, and then made space for the patch, and so I cut it in as I went. So then it's a perfect fit, and it's got a nice gap to it for penetration, the thickness of the recip's blade, or slightly thinner because we're on a slight angle. And this is going to go in really nice, I think. So working it as I go, tacking it and then kind of bending it to shape as I go and working the metal. This has still got a gap here, but like I say, I'll screw that into place. Probably not tonight because my dinner's on and I'm hungry. So anyway, stay tuned. There you go. So as we're going, I'm just kind of feathering it, making sure I'm getting all the pinholes. See this little divot here? This is actually kind of like a deviation of the body, where this has been kind of bent, where it meets the patch. My joint is a little forward of that, but what I'm going to do is fill that with weld and just kind of blend it. It's kind of good practice, and practice for your welding, and it kind of makes it finish it off nice. But you can see it's coming along nice. I'm dressing it, but I'm kind of concentrating more on my feathering into the new metal, being very careful not to dig into the old stuff, but leaving it a tad proud, for strength on both sides. There you go. I hope you can see that. It's filled that up pretty decently. Kind of feathered it, and it looks better. So I'm going to come back tomorrow and just finish these off. It's a bit late now, it's getting a bit hot out here, so yeah, I'm quite happy the way this is all patched in. It's come in pretty nice and solid, and trying to keep to these factory seams and these lines here where it all crisscrosses. I know it's all going to be buried for the most part under seam sealer, but it's kind of it's good practice for the welding as well, to kind of break down the way things are made and try to stick as close to the factory as possible. And I find it kind of therapeutic myself, to work through these things. So Anyway, alright, let's go and have some dinner. I'll finish this up tomorrow. Right, welcome back. It's been several days, actually a couple of weeks since I last was in here, because those of you know that California's had a really hot heat wave here, and it's been just literally too hot to be out here because I've got no AC or anything. So I took a little break basically. So anyway, there it is, welded up with this little corner piece welded on. I'll take you underside here. You can see I left the welds a little proud because we're not worried too much what they look like, because this will be all covered up. I'm going to get covered in sort of a Dynamat type material so you'll never see it again. And on the other side we'll do seam sealing and all that good stuff. So let me take you on the other side here. As you can see, I did I went over it a little bit more than I thought I would, because I wanted it to look really nice, you know. So we've got our factory edge here of the transmission tunnel, factory edge following through and stopping here and overlapping that secondary floor panel that sits on this main beam here. And then we were able to save very carefully that little dimple. I didn't want to sand too much there because I know that you know, it's easy to go through, so wanted to leave as much meat there as possible. And then the final patch here, which I did feather in a little bit and tried to make sure all the pinholes are filled. This was dented, so I actually filled it up with weld and then kind of feathered it in. So once this is all sealed up and all these edges, because this is just a lap joint, this isn't watertight basically, none of these are until we get a good sized seam sealer on that and seal it all off. I'll show you something in a minute to give you an idea of how much they put on here. So next thing, I'm going to just put some rust encapsulator to kind of a marker for myself as well, to know that this area is taken care of, and also the metal is all sealed off from the atmosphere. And then when it comes to epoxy primering, that rust encapsulator does get scuffed up with Scotch-Brite to make sure we get good adhesion. So I'm going to take it all the way up to up here, I think, on both sides, rust encapsulator. So let me show you. So you can see I started grinding the metal here. It's amazing, isn't it, how condition of this is all really nice under there. 50 years that is, but because it was buried under, look how thick that stuff is, like seam sealer I guess that is, and under seal and all that good stuff. So immensely thick, you know, it's just doped on. All of this is in really nice shape. I'll just scuff that all up ready for epoxy primer. And so let's get this finished and sealed off. I'll show you that and then we'll be done. There you go. I just put a quick coat of rust encapsulator on there, you know, thin to medium coat. So you can see it kind of goes on quite nicely with a brush. I'm not going to do it all in the engine bay, just these two areas that are kind of prone to stuff, you know, and it's hidden anyway, so I think it will give it a little extra protection. And you can see, let me get under it, you can see the repair's gone in quite nicely. You can see there's a join just there going across, little proud there. Again, once this is all sealed off and we've got a nice factory join along here and here, and there's our seam right across to there, a little divot there, all that will get taken care of with seam sealer. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of an involved project, but kind of fun as well. I kind of get into it and enjoy it. That's the main thing, isn't it? So okay, let's pack this up for the night. One thing before I go just came to mind. If you're new to welding or you've been thinking of getting into it, I really suggest you give it a try, because I haven't welded anything since I left school. So, oh no, tell a lie, I did do a night class, an oxyacetylene night class with a buddy of mine years ago when I was about 19, and that was really enjoyable. And I've never MIG welded before in my life, and so I picked this MIG welder up, obviously because of this project, and you know, at first you're a little intimidated about it, but get some scrap metal, actually buy some new metal and start playing around with the settings. Watch a few guys on YouTube. There's a really couple of good guys. Fitz's Fabrications is one guy I highly recommend. Real old school chap. Uses very basic tools, very basic approach, simple, straightforward, no nonsense. So check him out, Fitz's Fabrications. I think he's up in Newfoundland. And also, what's his other name? Trev's blog as well, and he's in the UK, and he's a very accomplished body guy, very upbeat, nice bloke, and watch him as well, some great input. And so with practice and a little bit futzing around, you can do this stuff, you know, because this is obviously some of the most expensive part of a restoration job is rust repair, you know, and it can be quite intimidating to people. I think I've got a little bit of an advantage from zero because of my fabrication and furniture restoration background, you know, how to patch an old period piece of furniture and not be intimidated about it. You know, I've worked on furniture, you know, $50,000 pieces of furniture, and you can't be intimidated about it. You've just got a certain process to do, namely replicating what's there, using as close the materials as you can possibly get to that, and you know, taking consideration how it was built, how it was put together before, and try and emulate that as close as possible. Eliminate, you know, obviously with the woodwork, you're eliminating things like fillers and all that stuff. You're using wood, good honest wood repairs, glued in, finished, coloured to match. And the same thing with the cars. None of this fiberglass business and doping loads of filler and mesh and all that crap. You know, you want metal in there, and obviously a little skim of body filler towards the end. Luckily, I haven't got a lot of actual exterior bodywork to do on this car. It's actually essentially completely straight, so I'm really at an advantage there. This is all metalwork underneath, you know, rockers, seals, floor pans, all that stuff. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room, you know. But as far as the exterior body, practice makes perfect. Don't be intimidated about it, and yeah, have fun with it. I've got something planned for my next video. For some time I've been thinking about when you go to jack up not just the 108, 109, but many other of the Mercedes chassis, how to properly jack them up because of the way the front subframe is attached to the car, and how to overcome that and safely know that the engine and the whole front suspension is not going to collapse on your head. But that's something for the next video. I'm just working on something to show you, and it'll be a short video, that one. It's pretty straightforward. So that is another thing that will be coming up. Another reason I've been delayed actually putting any video out is that this video I had about 2/3 edited, right? And the other day it was hot, I was stuck indoors, and I have this old racing car simulator with old classic cars in it, you know, Jaguars and old Minis and all that kind of stuff, and Mustangs, Cobras. So I thought, you know what, that'll be a laugh. So I loaded it up into the computer, and of course it crashed the computer, and so I had to redo the computer, save all my files, but all my programs were gone. And then I went to upload my Movie Maker program, and of course I couldn't find the serial number. So it was a series of errors. So that's another reason why, but it was to do with the heat, because I wanted to race on a video game. Okay. One other thing before I go, I removed the exhaust manifolds on the 6.3. I did unfortunately have a couple of broken studs, which I'm going to deal with later, and they broke below the surface, which is a bit of a drag. I may try the welding method to pull them out, but I'm going to see about that. First things first is to get a compression test on the motor, and that'll give me an indication of condition and everything. Adjust all the valves, make sure I can see what the compressions are like, and then go from there. If I have to pull the heads, I have to pull the heads. I probably will anyway, just because, you know, it's been a long time under there, and probably could do with some new head gaskets anyway. I know they're not cheap, but while I'm in there, you know, you might as well do what you can. And in that case, I'll remove the cylinder heads, take it to a machine shop, have them remove those studs, and get some new exhaust manifold studs from Classic Center. So anyway, so here are the manifolds. They're in okay condition, nothing, not heavily damaged on the flanges or anything, just obvious normal surface rust. And I was talking to Merkmad in Australia about actually the manifold studs, and he mentioned about ceramic coating, and he actually said it's not necessary, but it got me thinking about ceramic coating. So I looked into it a little bit, and apparently, from my understanding of the process, it gets coated in this special ceramic coating inside and out, and it allows for the exhaust gases to escape more efficiently, thus keeping these exhaust manifolds a lot cooler, up to 40% cooler. I've seen some tests with this stuff, and it's quite substantial. So running around just over $400 to these two manifolds, and I picked a cast iron finish. It replicates the OEM really closely, I think. So stay tuned on those. I'm going to get these all packaged carefully up and sent off to Oklahoma. I think there is another place in North Carolina that does it, but stay tuned. This is really excited to see how these come out. So that's that. And yeah, that's all for this episode. Again, sorry for the long delay in getting back to you guys. It's literally been, I've not been able to do any filming because it's been, well, close by town we had 116 degrees, and obviously I can't be out here and certainly can't be doing welding in that temperature. So I waited for a cooler day. It's been about 95 today. So anyway, it's not that much now. It's about 88, something like that. So a lot more pleasant to work. So I should be getting rolled on with this engine bay a little further. Hopefully the weather doesn't hit us all hot again and stop me in my tracks. So I've got a few other ideas that I can do on the inside of the building anyway, so we can keep going on this. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Appreciate everything. Click like, share and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Take care.